The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the goals cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. They ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm a bow wow, you can hear it from the pros. It's Haymaker Combat Sports, time to roll.
Welcome back to Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. I'm your host, EJ Reed, joined by my fellow hosts, Aaron Admire, Steve Johnson. How's it going, fellas?
Here we are, another Tuesday, great weather, loving it.
It is that time of the year where the weather's starting to heat back up. You know, got a little bit more daylight with the clocks moving forward, even though kind of messed up my whole equilibrium as far as like work. Like,
man, I posted a daylight savings thing on my Facebook earlier. I'm sick of it. It just messes everything up. For what? Why? We don't need it. I thought that last year it got voted out or something. I thought we were supposed to be quitting it.
yeah, Steve, wasn't there some sort of type of science behind that about them getting rid of it?
Yeah, they said, but I guess they didn't get it to pass Congress, I guess, to do it.
Quit playing with our emotions like that. Just get rid of it. Doesn't make any sense. But
yeah, man. You can't cut off an hour at the beginning of the day and put it on the end. It doesn't make the day any longer. Like, it is what it is. You know, they could take a half hour and move it one way and just set it and forget it. Then we're in the middle forever.
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, just do something because, like you said, it don't make any sense. I thought, like, originally, I know it might have been like an urban legend. They did it because farmers needed more light or something like that. Or is that just the urban legend?
You'll have to go check out my post on Facebook. This guy actually looked it up, and he said that it was a bug, like an insect bug scientist in Australia that came up with the idea for it, and it caught on overseas, and then it came here. So it wasn't even for the farmers originally. It was like some nerd that wanted to study bugs longer.
Well, that nerd ruined it for everybody.
Yeah.
Study bugs. That's some crazy stuff. Well, whatever. So let's get into this card that happened this past weekend, UFC 299. Before we actually talk about the card, Emma, you didn't get to watch this one live?
I didn't watch it live. I went back and watched everything Sunday night.
Man, I'm surprised you usually watch everything live. I'm surprised you didn't get to see this one live.
No, I was busy hanging out with family, girlfriend, all that. So I just put it off. I seen all the pop-ups coming. I was like, damn.
Yeah, I mean, star-studded event. Miami, you had celebs in the crowd and whatnot. You know, the type of crowd Miami brings out, and Florida in general. Man, this feels like this fight happened a long time ago because I'm looking at some of these results. Like, I watched all the prelims, but now that I'm thinking about it, I can't remember like how some of this stuff unfolded. But let's go through some of these results of the early prelims. Did either one of y'all watch like any of the prelims?
I didn't watch the early prelims, but you know, I specifically looked up the Michelle fight. He's my dude.
Speaking of him, did you see his entrance?
No, I didn't see the entrance to it. I just seen on TikTok the highlights of the fight, short fight.
Did you see that entrance, Steve?
Yeah. To me, it was cringe, man. You got to have this certain dance talent and choreography. I mean, I think if we practiced, we could have did that sideshow.
Who's that?
I don't know what the hell that was. I was like, oh my God.
Who's that little like, I guess his trainer? Who that little, I don't want to call him a twerp because he probably like a normal sized guy next to Michelle because Michelle's a big guy. But who's that guy next to him? Look at that random guy doing the dance with him.
Oh, dude, I'm watching it right now. Holy shit.
It It was like almost like the poor man's version. Remember Israel did it, and
that's what I was about to say. It was a poor version of Israel, and we'll save it for in the show for a fighter later on that fought that day. You have those type of fighting. I mean, dancing moves. I mean, that's okay, but that was low level dancing right there.
So you just watched the whole thing, Amaya?
Yeah, I just watched it.
What are your thoughts on that?
It reminded me of Jason Mayhem Miller used to do dances when he did his walkouts in Pride, and that's what it looked like.
Yeah, it was definitely cringy, but I was like, is he using too much energy going to the cage? But I guess the result from the fight shows that I guess not.
It was almost kid and play-esque,
A little bit, yeah. Hey, I guess if you're promoting yourself and putting more odds to it, because we're talking about it now, so I guess it worked. So shout out to Michelle Pierre. But let's go through these early prelim results. Yeah, Joanne Wood defeating Marina Moro, by decision, split decision. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't Joanne Wood retire? I don't know if you can pull that up really quickly, I think she retired. I don't know, Steve, did you see anything?
I didn't know. I didn't know that. I only saw Rob Elise disband and Josh Perigine up, but I didn't see the two starting prelims.
Yeah. Joanne Wood retires from MMA after UFC 299 win.
Yeah, you don't see a lot.
How long has she been in the game?
She's been a while because when she got in it, her name was Calderwood, and now she's just Joanne Wood. She got married.
Oh, okay. Now she's recollecting. I was like, yeah, Calderwood. So it's Wood now.
Yeah, she married somebody with a piece of her name already in the name, so I guess that's pretty convenient.
So she's been in the UFC since 2015. Actually, this fight that she just had against Miraz was her first fight in the UFC as well, after she was on The Ultimate Fighter.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah, so she's definitely a veteran of the sport. And like I said earlier, you don't really see a lot of people retire after they win. So I guess you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. So
you said that she fought her first fight with her?
She had a fight that was on the Ultimate Fighter finale against Ham Cohe, and then her first fight outside of that was Miraz back in 2015. So she's been in the UFC about 10 years.
As far as like she fought her first time in the UFC, Miraz?
It technically her second.
Oh, her second. So I was basically trying to insinuate it's like it started with her and I guess it ended with her. That would have been cool if she fought her first fight and ended with her last fight.
Yeah, I mean, she's been putting in work. She's like one of those fighters where like her, but like you maybe not be able to think of like a specific moment, but she's durable and
she's fought everybody.
Yeah, flyweight. She wasn't always at flyweight though either. Did she float around in bantamweight for a little bit?
Flyweight. She had a catchweight.
Yeah, she did some bantamweight, maybe not. Maybe she was the one that introduced that flyweight because the flyweight is newer. Because they had what's that? Not Montana.
Yeah. She went up to flyweight for a little bit.
Oh, so she was strawweight, huh?
Yep, she was strawweight, flyweight.
Okay, so I didn't know she made that strawweight, but that's crazy. But yeah, shout out to her. But let's move along. We had Asul Amabayev defeating CJ Vergara by decision. That was a catchweight. It was supposed to be a flyweight, though it looks like. And then Robeles de Spain defeating Josh Parisian at heavyweight. And then we had Michelle Piera defeating Michael Olashechuk in the middleweight division. And then we had Felipe Lins defeating Ian Kudalaba at the light heavyweight. And Steve, I know you said you saw the Spain fight. I watched it, but now that I'm thinking about it, I can't remember like the sequences of that. What was going on with that one?
Oh, it was pretty good. just measuring, figuring out, and then Despain, which is dude from Cuba, right?
I'm not quite sure where he's from.
Well, anyway, he threw a kick, side kick to the head, and missed his balance. He got back up, and dude tried to be aggressive. And it reminded me, if y'all remember, the Stipe and Werdum, where he was chasing him. He came over the top and bow. That's what he basically did, and knocked him out cold. He's a new prospect, and he looks like a tall, lanky dude that can be a problem.
Yeah. It says here he's a Cuban taekwondo guy.
And I wouldn't say lanky because he has some size on him, so I wouldn't use the word lanky. Like, that's a John Jones. This dude's like
6'7", 258.
Yeah, he's got some size.
That's a lot of size. Yeah, so we'll see what he does in the future. I'm not sure how old he is, but heavyweight division, you could be in your 40s and still vie for a title shot. But we talked about this guy earlier, Michel Pereira. He got a impressive technical submission. How do y'all think he looked?
I think he looks better. I mean, he has a couple losses scattered throughout his career, but he's just so damn entertaining to watch. And it seems like in the earlier fights for him, he would be real flashy, but he didn't get as many wins. But it seems like he's putting it all together now. Let me pull up his record.
I think he's got like a 5-6 fight win streak. He's on some type of crazy fight streak.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember when we were talking about it before that he's on win streak. Let's see. Yeah, it was his first couple fights in the UFC. He won one, then he lost two, and then he's been on a streak ever since then. He lost to Tristan Connolly and Diego Sanchez for the DQ, and then he's been on a run ever since then. So, yeah.
And he would. How could that guy make it to welterweight? That's a big dude. I don't know how he was able to suck down to that, but I don't know. I mean, is he ranked?
Well, let me pull up the rankings and see. He's got to be close.
I know he was ranked like in that top 15 to 11 at some point. I don't know if he's ever cracked the top 10 like that.
Let's see, middleweight.
I don't know if he is. If he is, it's lower ranked.
He's
not in there.
Yeah, and he's not. I thought he was older than he is. I think he's like 30. So
yeah, he's 30.
I don't know. Like, I guess you just keep putting him in fun fights, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he deserves somebody maybe around that top 15 area, maybe like a Anthony Hernandez or Paul Craig, something like that.
I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
I think he's faced a lot of talent to where we obviously know he's physically talented, and he does have a skill set. I think he needs to up his skill level as far as challenge himself, because he looks like he goes in there and just dominates these dudes, or like almost John Jones them. Not style wise, but can move them anywhere they want to. Like you say, he's a massive body. You look at him, he has one of those persona body types of like somebody like, could he be light heavyweight easily, like a Luke Rockhold? He had one of those bodies. And I think Pierre is definitely one of those, why he's dominating these dudes. They say, hey, you can cut the weight and make it. And I think he's one of those dudes that cut and getting a big advantage with these middleweights, because he's blessed with being a perfect size, or can even go in light heavy if he wants to, and later on in his career. I think.
I feel like this division is set up stylistically in his favor. Like once I don't know if he gets to that point where they have him against the guys, but like Izzy, like if they both stand up, and then like even like a not a Gilbert Burns, a Paulo Costa, Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland doesn't really wrestle like that.
You know, I started to smile about Piera, and then you know what? Let's not be misled. We might have another Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker is acting flashy, and look what happened to him. I like Pierre. I don't want that to happen to him because he entertains us. But I just automatically that flashed in my head, and so he has to be careful too. So he might be thrown in that skill level and not be able to overcome that because Johnny Walker took him a while to get back his fight were to a winning streak, and then he just lost again. So he was never the same after his first loss. I think what was that? Went to Bellator. Anderson?
Corey
That was
Anderson.
his first loss? Knockout?
Who against Corey Anderson?
Corey Anderson knocked out Johnny Walker.
I that was so long ago. I'd have to.
And I was just referencing that as like, you know, you get caught once up coming out of the ladder, you know, you can never be the same after, and he wasn't the same after that. So I think he has to be also strategic with who he's going to pick to fight.
But I think you're right though. I think he's kind of built for that middleweight division where they're mostly stand-up guys like that. Like I think he could do very well. You know, if you think about like put him in there against even somebody in the top, you already said Izzy, but like Robert Whitaker or something, you know, all these stand-up guys, he's kind of built for that. The only one that I see, you know, you got Chimaev up there.
Yeah.
It's 10, but Michel Piera is also a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So, I mean, we haven't really got to see a lot of his groundwork, but maybe he's, you know, some wizard. He's definitely a wizard on the feet.
Yeah, we got to see a little bit of it past weekend. He got the rear naked choke. So,
yeah.
I know a guy they probably wouldn't want him to face, somebody who's fighting at 300, even though it probably makes sense because both of these guys aren't ranked. What about like a Bo Nickel?
I like that. That's like a dream matchup for me.
That'd be literally like stylistically diverse fight because one guy likes to stand up and he's black belt in jiu-jitsu, but we all know what Bo Nickel came to do. He came to wrestle. Even though he's got some sneaky power in his hands, Bo Nickel does.
Yeah, he's got some good. He has some good boxing.
So, yeah, Gilbert Burns. I'm not Gilbert Burns. Bo Nickel. We still got to see what he does next month, but definitely have some options. But let's get into the prelims. At bantamweight, we had Kyler Phillips defeating Pedro Munoz by unanimous decision, and we had at lightweight Mateus Gamrot defeating RDA. Rafael Dos Anjos by decision. Macy Barber in the flyweight division defeating Caitlin Sermonara. And then the featured fight, heavyweight division, Curtis Blades defeating Jalton Almeida KO. Second round. Did y'all get to watch any of these prelims?
Yeah, all of them. A lot of good fights. I think the most surprising to me was seeing RDA, how low his output was. I mean, he did not look like the same fighter that he's always been. That one really stood out to me, especially with Gamrot hitting all those takedowns. But also the takedowns, you know, Almeida got knocked out, but he landed a lot of takedowns.
Yeah, and I want to get into that a little bit more. But Steve, did you watch all of these prelims or just some?
Just the first two, but everything else I pretty much saw.
You didn't see the Gamrot fight?
No, I saw that. Well, I guess you're talking about early prelims. Yeah, I saw all these prelims.
Yeah, it's just the main prelims. So yeah, going back to what Admire said, RDA's output wasn't that high, but Gamrot, I feel like he's underrated. I mean, was he ranked top 5? But you don't hear like a lot of people talking about him. Definitely top 10, if not top 5. And I think he was a replacement for one of those Islam fights too. I can't remember which one, but I wonder why a lot of people aren't talking about Gamrot. Were you impressed by his performance, Steve?
Yeah, I was. I mean, like you said, it seemed like RDA, his past probably 3 to 5 fights, no, but he did catch him and he was giving him problems. I think he caught him really good and hurt him. And he went to scrambling and wrestling, but Gamrot was too strong on the wrestling, and that's what got him. And maybe we might be seeing RDA, past his zenith.
Yeah. I don't know if you had it pulled up. Admire Gamrot ranking. I think he's in the top.
Yeah,
10 or so.
Gamrot is ranked at number 5. I think you talked about him being a backup. Wasn't he the backup for Volkanovski and Islam, even though that was a short notice fight?
Yeah.
I think he was the backup if Volkanovski wasn't going to be ready.
Yep, that's the one I was thinking about. So yeah, but outside of that, you don't really, hear a lot of clamoring for him getting a title shot. Top 5. We saw another guy that was number 5 who got a title shot in the main event we'll talk about. But yeah, I mean, he's only like one injury away from like being a replacement again. So I don't know if he's as markable like the machine wants to get behind, but I mean, I was impressed. He's got the skill set. And we talked about this in the pre-show. Macy Barber, she got a victory, but I don't want to say she coasted because I feel like she won comfortably, but y'all think she should have a slightly more impressive showing? Because I feel like she's always been on that threshold of them wanting to push her as being like the next person up as far as the woman's face of the sport or whatever, or UFC. I don't know. Y'all think she could have done more to have like a more impressive being on ESPN national TV?
I think she did all right. I mean, she had a tough opponent.
Yeah, definitely.
And it showed. So I mean, I still think I don't think that fight hurt her any. I think they're still gonna, keep pushing her and pushing her. She looked good. I mean, she had her takedowns. She had the striking.
Steve?
And her, what was the question again? My bad. I was looking at her stats.
Macy were impressive in her victory over Caitlin Seminara.
And that's the thing. From what I can remember, I think she did a good job. I think she had to. She was dealing with what's her name's boxing, I believe, because she is a boxer, right?
She's like she just
Seminara.
Yeah, she's more of a stand-up. Yeah.
And from what I think I remember, she had to grapple, mixing her striking with grapple, I believe. Right.
Yeah.
So she had to, which we were talking about. Macy Barber strikings has improved, but seeing that display with somebody who was, one-dimensionally stand-up fighter, she had her chance to show what she had. And I think she, even at that level to which, let me see, I just saw it. What's that? What is Seminara? What's her ranking?
She's like 1 or 2, right? I feel like she's pretty high up there. It's like
4.
3. Oh, she's 4. Okay.
So I think if she's going to go any higher, she's going to have problems with striking. And not only that, I don't think her grappling's up to par with the top.
Yeah. And I don't know if you have it up in front of you. Barber, she's top 10, right? In that flyweight division.
She's number 4.
Number 4. And Caitlin was what, 3 or 2?
She was 4. She dropped to number 6 now.
Oh, wow. So
yeah, they traded places, 4 and 6.
So they swap. Who's ranked ahead of Macy Barber now?
Farrat at 3, Blanchfield at 2, Shevchenko at 1, and Grasso the champ.
Yeah, that's a.
I don't know. Did Blanchfield and Barber face each other yet? I don't think so. Yeah, I would remember that if they faced each other. Because I remember they kind of threw Barber to the wolves. I think she might have got injured to a fight, but it wasn't. I don't think it was Blanchfield. It was the one she lost to. It was Grasso. She lost to Grasso, and then she had that inexplicable loss against Roxanne Modafferi. So why don't they do like almost like a loser leaves town between her and Blanchfield? I think they're trying to say Blanchfield to get the next title shot, but she's another one with a lot of fight, a lot of hype, a younger fighter with a lot of hype. So why not have those two face off, and whoever wins will be the face of the division going forward?
Blanchfield has a fight coming up the end of this month against Farrat.
Yeah, that's in Atlantic City, isn't it?
Yeah, so you have the number 2 and the number 3 fighting. So after that, you either got to give Macy Barber a shot or do a contenders match out of that.
I say win or lose for Blanchfield, they still do her and Barber, like I said, and have them be whoever wins, push them towards the face. Because if Blanchfield wins, I know they're probably going to want to have her in that title shot next. But they're running back Grasso and Valentina at in the spare.
Yeah, Ultimate Fighter.
So if you're Blanchfield, I mean, I guess it is next month. I guess you could wait it out, but I don't know. That could be risky waiting it out as well, but we'll see what happens with that.
That's a long wait because Valentina and Grasso doing the Ultimate Fighters coaches, so that's going to be dragged out a while.
I'm surprised they're running this back 3 times in a row too, with Grasso and Shevchenko. I know it was a draw, but I mean, what if Valentina wins? You're gonna run it back a 4th time for the for the tiebreaker, the rubber match? I don't know.
I guess it's the best combination for views as of right now to get the most out of money out of a fight. So everybody's not pulling, I guess, views like those two.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe they look at the numbers, and you know what they say, numbers don't lie. But before we get into this main card, let's talk about what happened in that featured fight at the top of the prelims. Yeah, Curtis Blades defeating Jalton Almeida by KO, like I said earlier. But I think we all might have chose Almeida to win this because he had the momentum going on, and he, like Amar said earlier, he was out grappling him pretty much all the first round. I don't know if you said Steve or you, Amar, one of y'all said it, but going into that second round, he tried for a takedown, and then Curtis Blades just bashed his head in. And I said on the pre-show that we did that I wouldn't, even though I think Almeida's going to win, I wouldn't count Curtis Blades to pull this out as well, just because his wrestling acumen. And sure enough, gave him the Donkey Kong fist to the head and knocked him out. You don't really see a lot of knockouts like that, but what were your thoughts, Avire?
Yeah, man, I was on the Almeida hype train going into the fight. The first round, I mean, he landed 9 takedowns. Like, it was leaning that way. But, I mean, like you said, Curtis Blades, you can't ever count him out. And it really doesn't hurt either one of them. Looking at the rankings, neither one of them went up or down from that. They stayed in the same place. So you still have Blades at 5, Almeida at 7. So it really didn't hurt their stock much. I mean, I think that kind of shows how weak the heavyweight division is right now.
Yeah. Steve?
It's crazy because I really thought high hopes for Alton in this heavyweight division, and I thought it's comical the way as of right now, the way these guys are losing like that. It's like the leg kick that, you know, it took a few times to say, okay, this is a tool. And I think we've seen recent fights in the past to where, you know, people have been getting knocked out like that. So how many times do you get knocked in the side of the head before, you know, you have to advance, or, you know, one of them will get you? And I figured that he would be smart enough for that to not go for that. I think it was a single leg and take those elbows to the side of the head. Like I said, he was dominating the first round and then just gave it up. It's almost like a game where you're about to win the round and your opponent wins with a bar of HP, a bar life left. Still came back, man, and I guess heads up to Curtis, but I definitely counted him out. I think 9 times out of 10, Alton may win that fight because he was dominating in his game, wrestling or grappling.
Yeah, that the way Blades finished him, it reminded me of Travis Brown, another heavyweight from the UFC years ago. He started doing that when people would shoot that takedown on him. He would start doing the hammer fist to the side of the head, and he got a lot of wins that way.
They remind me of Pierre too, Alex Pierre with what's his name, Samurai Polish.
Blachowicz.
Yeah, no, not Blachowicz.
Prohaska.
Yeah, him. He got knocked out that way.
Yeah, that is right. Yeah. Hey, when you start getting up to light heavyweight and heavyweight, it doesn't take much. A couple of those, and it's time to go to sleep. But so with Almeida and what's our guy's name? He just lost to the British guy not too long ago. Sergey Pavlovich, yep. Sergey Pavlovich and Almeida, they were kind of priming them up to be like the next up guys, and both of them took some L's recently. So, like, where do you go? I guess they're still young and you can still build it up, but do you have them take a step back, or do you keep putting high-level competition with these two?
I mean, Sergey's still up there at number 3. Almeida's at 7. I mean, you could step Almeida back a little bit and put him against somebody like Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa, somewhere in that range. Just kind of get him up there, because the heavyweight division to me is almost like the top 5 are way beyond the rest of the people behind them. So you're going to have these same guys at the top of the heavyweight just constantly battling back and forth, kind of like Derek Lewis did for the last few years. He was always up at the top, and it seems like all these guys were just fighting each other. But one of these days, you got to get Stipe back in there and give him a tune-up fight. He can't sit around waiting on a John Jones fight.
Well, if he's waiting around and him and John Jones are both rusty, it kind of equals out, though, right?
Yeah, but a 40-something-year-old Stipe Rusty is a little bit different than a John Jones Rusty.
I think Stipe, I think he's just back for one fight, and then that's it for him. Like you said, it would be ideal if he got a tune-up fight. And I feel like they just like flip-flop Tom Aspinall. He beat Sergey Pavlovich. I feel like they like people, like the fans just flipped, because everybody's saying, oh, John Jones doesn't want to see Pavlovich. And now they're saying, oh, John Jones doesn't want to see Aspinall. I feel like they just interchanged it. They're just trying to figure out somebody who could beat John Jones, even if they're not even really analyzing the X's and O's.
Yeah, I mean, he's the champ. He's at the top, man. Like, people are going to talk shit, but I mean, I don't know. I would rather see Aspinall instead of Stipe against Jones, but I don't know.
I mean, they're looking to put butts in seats, and everybody's going to come to a Jones fight regardless, but putting Stipe in there gives it a little bit more juice. But I mean, you going back to the top earlier, you got to push like the younger heavyweights, because John Jones ain't going to be there forever. I think he maybe do 2 fights at the most, and then he's dipping. Maybe if Ngannou, who we'll talk about a little bit later, maybe try to get that fight and dip out, but we won't see John Jones for a while. I mean, for a long time. He's there for a good time, not a long time.
Well, we looked it up a couple episodes ago, and I think he signed like a 6-fight or 8-fight deal or something, but I don't think he wants to be around that long.
Yeah, he's not going to finish that out. Also, he so either fighting the UFC or bust, because if you don't finish that fight contract, you can't go anywhere else unless they release you. Like, if you can negotiate them to release you, which I doubt Danny would do if he was smart.
Yeah, so at the beginning of 2023, he signed an 8-fight deal. So, I mean, he's there for the long haul. So unless Francis gets out of that contract, we're never going to see that fight.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what happened. But let's get into the main card, fellas. Kick this one off in the bantamweight division. Yeah, Petra Yan defeating Song Dong by decision. And round one, Song he looked like the sharper fighter on the feet, and he got that takedown towards the end of the round. But then in round two, Yan came alive and was able to come back and light Yan up some, get the takedown towards the end of the round. And then round three was kind of back and forth on the feet, but Yan had the edge, and I think he sealed it with that late takedown. So this was kind of a seesaw type of fight, and it swung back in towards Yan's favor. But what were your thoughts on this one, Amine?
Yeah, this is a good fight. Good back and forth. I mean, it had a little bit of everything in it. Like you said, first round, I was like, damn, Song Yadong, he can mix it up. He can hold his own in there. And then after that, it just seemed like Yang kind of just picked up the pace as the fight went on, and Song just kind of cruised and kind of maybe slowed down a little bit. But I thought it was a good fight. I think it was the right decision, Yan all the way.
Steve?
Yeah, it's considering how we seen Peter Yan do some crafty things. I saw Song Yadong, I think, a few times impress Peter Yan, especially that first round. You can tell Peter Yan's athleticism can easily touch somebody, but you can tell that he was off-putting Peter Yan's rhythm. But as always, Peter Yan always slow start up after the first round, and I figured that. But he picked up timing, and like he says in the old fat Peter Yan fashion, starts picking up, and it's timing. And we saw the dominance, I think, after the first round, the second and third, and start dominating over Song Yadong. So that's good. We start seeing Peter Yan getting the win, because it's a shame that he gets cut, but he's never lost a devastating loss, and I like seeing him fight. I really do. So that's good he won.
So Yan got the win, and on the previous show, we talked about how he really needed this one because he was on that losing streak. So where do you really go with Yan from here, Admire?
I think this was a good, get back in the win column fight. He's up there. He's in the top 5. You got to put him against somebody. I can't remember how he did. I think he fought Corey Sandhagen before, and I think he lost to him possibly.
Yan?
Yeah.
I don't think he lost to Sandhagen. He lost to O'Malley, of course, and he lost to Funk Master twice, Aljamain Sterling.
Let me take a look and see who he's fought as.
I don't think he lost to Corey Sandhagen.
He beat Corey Sandhagen, but you got Sandhagen up there ahead of him. You have Sterling, Dabashili, and O'Malley. That's everybody in front of Yan. I don't know. Chito Vera.
Huh? I see them doing that. And you said Yan is number 5? You said Yan is number 5 now? What was he before?
He didn't move.
Huh.
Nobody in the bantamweight moved this weekend.
What was Chito rank?
5.
Him and Yan are tied?
Yan's 4.
That's what
Chito's
I thought.
5.
If you're Yan, it's kind of you're fighting backwards, but I don't think they want to have him and O'Malley face each other again. Who's number? I know Marab is number 1, right?
Yeah, Marab's 1, Sterling 2, Sandhagen 3.
Oh, and you gotta move. You probably gotta move Sterling out of there now that he's jumped up to featherweight. And I mean, I guess it won't make any difference from what the subject we're talking about, but I don't think you run it back with Corey Sandhagen.
No, I don't think you do. I think the Chito Vera fight makes the most sense, though, even though he's ranked 1 behind him, to beat the guy that just fought for the title. That kind of gives you more reason for them to put you up against the champion after that. If you beat the guy that just fought for the title, and I'm sure we'll get to it. O'Malley's talking about moving up in weight to fight Topuria. So I don't know what's going to happen with his belt, if that's a one-time thing, if he's going to move up permanently. But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little later, but I guess Vera would make sense. What do you think, Steve?
I would guess. I guess this was what happens when you fight everybody in the top 5. I mean, I guess his options could sit and wait for opportunity. I think like Vera is his only option now. We think of it. He's fought everybody. Rob, Sterling said he went up.
But I could see the Sterling though, just because they've had a DQ and they've had a split decision. So it could happen.
You saying the Sterling fight?
Yeah, I mean, if they ran it with Sterling again, just because there was a split decision and a DQ.
Yeah, I don't think Sterling's coming back down because him and Marab's relationship, and they said that's a pretty big cut for him. But I think Sterling's a tweener, man. Like, I think some of these featherweights might take advantage of being bigger than him. He'd be perfect for like a 140 division, which doesn't exist. So he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. But yeah, I guess it's pretty much Vera or bust. What about Song Yudong? Because I feel like the couple times where they tried to jump up the competition with him, it hasn't turned out well. Sandhagen finished him, and now he just lost to Jan. Seems like he beats like the people that are on his level or maybe ranked lower than him. Like, what do you go with Song Yudong for now here? Because he's a young prospect that a lot of people were high on, and he's with Alpha Male, Team Alpha Male.
I'd put him against like Figueiredo, somebody like that. Or, has Song Yudong fought Dominic Cruz yet?
He has not.
I think Song Yudong and Dominic Cruz would be a good fight, because when I was watching that fight, I was like, Yudong kind of has like a Dominic Cruz style to him.
Yeah, just send him in there against another Team Alpha Male. Just let Dominic Cruz go through all of them, just like the good old days. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I think he's good for either people falling down or either catch the wave of somebody, a prospect coming up, and fight them, because it seems like every time he grazes, probably turn top 5, he loses. So I think he should wait for opportunity as far as wave. If you can fight somebody coming down, that's a good fight. As far as a legacy fight for you, I think definitely jump on it. And definitely anybody coming in that has a big name, fight on it. Because right now he's proven that he's lost against Sandhagen, and also a previous champion, which we know is very skilled. And he did have a good fight with him, but saying that he picked it up after the second and third round, you can see the level of skill level, even though it was a good fight. So I think he's a rock stuck in a hard place as far as the skill level and who he can defeat right now.
Well, earlier in the prelims, Kyler Phillips fought and won. Kyler Phillips is ranked at 12, Yudong at 7.
And he beat Song Yudong before.
Has he really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too early to run that back. I don't know if you want to run that back.
It happened 3 years ago. You can run that back. Ago. Let's see where Phillips is at now.
Yeah, Phillips is at 12, Yudong at 7. You could run that back. You could do Yudong against Figueiredo, Rob Font.
They got options. So I just don't want to see him get ruined. When people start losing, it kind of could be like an avalanche from there. But the kid's got skills, but he ran into Jan, and Jan was like, people thought Jan was going to be like the most dominant champ in bantamweight at one point. So that's nothing.
Yeah, I was one of those people.
Yeah, that's nothing to hang your head on, losing to Jan. But we'll keep an eye on where both of these guys go in the future. But let's jump into this next one. At welterweight, we had Jack Della Maddalena defeating Gilbert Burns by knockout in the third round. And this was a back and forth fight. Gilbert Burns had a good second round. He had good back control in the third round too. And right when Jack got back up, Jack hit that nasty knee and finished him with that vicious grounding pound in emphatic fashion. Admire, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, that nasty knee, man. That knee was weird. Like it caught his chin and his chest at the same time. And that's gotta be like a shocker, man, because you're getting hit in the chin and then that knee pierces your chest. Gilbert Burns was doing good, man. He's always, he's a top fighter. Landed a lot of takedowns and stuff. He controlled a lot of the fight, in my opinion. It was really going to come down to that third round. Something big had to happen because I think I had Maddalena winning 1, Burns winning 2, and it was kind of a toss-up going in.
Yeah, if it were to go to decision, like I'd be curious to see. I'm sure they got the judges. They released the judges' scores, but it was close. What were your thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, it was close and a back and forth. Although, to me, other than the grappling exchange where you received a few times, Maddalena was able to get out and do what he did. I seen Gilbert was struggling. He was one shot pot shotting while Maddalena was putting these combinations together, and I think Gilbert Burns was trying to get him with that right straight, like he caught with. I think that's his favorite punch, like he got caught with Kamaru with, and I think Maddalena's stand-up skills is too good for that. Although he's very skilled at that one shot, it's just too one-dimensional. And then, like you said, he caught him with that knee right up the middle, like you said, in the middle of the chin, chest area. Pretty sure that knocked the wind out of him. And I had a lot of faith in Gilbert Burns. Like I thought he was always a grade below Kamaru Usman, but I think we're starting to see people from under starting to rise above people that we thought were possibly gatekeepers, which is Gilbert Burns. I wouldn't think he would lose to him. So heads props to Maddalena.
Yeah. You and Admire thought Burns was going to win that one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think I said this in the previous show, Gilbert Burns may be like the highest level of gatekeeper at this point because I talked about this on the previous show as well, that the fight that he gave Makachev, not Makachev. Was it Makachev? No, not Islam Makachev. Chimaev. Yeah, Hamzat Chimaev, my bad.
Yeah.
The fight that he gave Hamzat Chimaev, where that fight could have went either way. Yeah, I mean, that's going into a Burns fight, that's somebody that you don't want to take lightly. And Maddalena got all that he wanted. And well, how did the rankings change with this one, Admire?
So Gilbert Burns dropped 2 places to number 6. Maddalena moved up quite a bit to number 5.
Ooh, so it's either shit or get off the pot, right? They can't go backwards now with this kid, right?
Yeah, I mean, in the top, you got Leon Edwards as champ, Usman at 1, Belal Muhammad at 2, Shavkat at 3, Colby at 4.
We always were talking about throwing suggestions of who should fight Colby next. And
I like the Maddalena against Colby. I like it.
Yeah, I'd say I feel like that'd be stylistically playing in Kobe's favor. I don't know. I wanted to see Kobe versus Hamzat, but Hamzat went up.
Yeah, I just had this feeling that the UFC is going to do Colby against Ian Gary just to get all the shit talk hype, sell some tickets.
Go through that top 5 one more time.
You got Edwards at champ, Usman at 1, Muhammad at 2, Shavkat at 3, Colby at 4.
Oh, you already know what I want to see. I want to see Kobe versus Shock.
That's what I was about to say. So Shotgun must be at 6, right? I'm guessing.
Who's that?
Shakabot.
No, he's at you said 3,
3.
right? Am I right?
Yeah, Shavkat's at 3.
Oh, okay, 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like you said, they want to see. They don't want to see Kobe versus Shavkat. They want to see, like you said, they might be setting up him versus Ian Gary, which I don't know. What is Ian Gary? What, he's like 6,
7.
7? I guess. But I don't know. We might not see Kobe fight again. It took him like 2 years just to fight this past fight. So I don't know. So I mean, which fight did you say you like to see Jack Della Maddalena again, Admire?
I'd watch him against Colby.
I don't think Kobe fights. So any other fight besides that one.
But I mean, Shavkat's got to get a fight sometime soon.
Nah, they don't want to throw that kid to the line like that. So you said Kobe number 2, right?
Colby 4.
4, 3 Shavkat. Who's 2?
Walil Muhammad.
Bilal Muhammad. He's got a title fight next month, or not? No, he doesn't have a fight next month. Who is fighting for the welterweight belt?
At 3, is it it?
But
Who?
I don't think they have anything set for the middleweight title.
No, they don't have any.
Leon, Leon. I don't really know. I don't think they know what to do with Leon Edwards right now. Okay, so you got Bilal Muhammad at 2. Who's number 1?
Usman.
Usman. Man, they're kind of like in a clusterfuck right now in that division.
Well, I mean, Edwards came out of his last fight like pretty uninjured. Like they should be setting something up with him. And I think Bilal Muhammad is the most deserving to get the next title shot. I mean, he's been waiting right there forever.
I mean, you can't really skip over him again. I don't know how many butts in seats that puts, but you got to do that. You just got to get that fight over with. But Usman's got a fight. Why not? That's what I'm saying. I don't know if you want to put Jack in a fight with Usman, because I mean that would shoot him right to the top. But what if Usman wins? Then what do you have with him?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I think you might be right. It might be Colby or bust, but like you said, they might be trying. Why don't they do Jack Della Maddalena versus Ian Gary? And just take Colby out of the equation.
I like that fight stylistically. They match up pretty well.
Yeah. What do you think, Steve?
I was thinking that fight. I'd definitely be down for it.
Yeah, and let the best fighter win. I think that they're right around the same age group. I think there might be 2-year difference between them. But yeah, I mean, they always looking to push the division forward, and Usman is no spring chicken. I mean, and if you're looking at it from the bigger perspective, he's only 36, so in life he's young, but in UFC he's ancient. You gotta push forward and build up new stars, which it seems like UFC is either hit or miss these days. But let's talk about another welterweight fight that was on this card. The long-awaited debut, Michael Venom Page, and he defeated Kevin Holland by decision. And hey, MVP frustrated Holland this whole fight, just with his awkward style, and was pretty much just styling on him the whole fight. And MVP would do his weird karate stance, bounce back and forth on his feet. Not like a whole lot of output, but then he'd have like these random explosions where he would catch Holland, and Holland really didn't know what to do with him. And outside that second round takedown, Holland wasn't able to solve that puzzle. So what do you think about this one, Amar?
MVP is always fun to watch. I mean, his game plan was perfect. He frustrated the shit out of Holland. But I don't know how long it can last, man. Like MVP style is like a mix of Anderson Silva and Machida, kind of, that karate, awkward, counter
Wonder Boy.
striking, Wonder Boy, like just a whole mix in it. And I think it's in the UFC. I'm just guessing it's going to make him susceptible to getting caught, kind of like he did before, when Lima knocked him out in Bellator. So, I mean, it was a good fight. It was a good showing. I think this fight said more about Holland than it did Page. Holland was supposed to be the guy that stops the new guy that came in with all the hype and didn't really have a game plan. But I mean, MVP's always had the same style, so it should have been easy to train for.
Were you impressed overall by MVP, or were you more so disappointed with Holland?
More disappointed with Holland than impressed with MVP. I don't see MVP going very high. I just think that there's too many people that could catch him.
What do you mean by that? By catch him? No, I know Lima did, but he's not really known for prone to be like getting knocked out like that.
No, not knocked out, but I just think that he's going to be fighting higher caliber guys. I hate to kind of shit on the Bellator guys like that, but he's got that in and out movement. He jumps in, pop, 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 gets out, and then he throws weird angles and stuff. I think somebody like people that we just talked about, like a Gilbert Burns or, even Stephen Thompson, who has a similar style, would end up catching MVP. I think they would catch him when he's in the pocket, bouncing around, setting up his shots. I don't know. They got MVP already ranked at number 13. So he's going to have some tough competition. You have a lot of pretty good strikers up there.
Yeah, I was about to ask you if he's ranked now. And did that knock Holland out of the ranking completely? I know
it took Holland down to number 14.
Oh, so dang. So because Holland was 13, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That means they knocked somebody who probably didn't fight out of the ranking completely. That sucks. Hey, that's the fight game for you. But what were your thoughts on this one, Steve?
Kevin Holland, I just get disappointed when he gets these big fights and just doesn't perform. I don't know even if he can. What I see what Admire is saying, and he might get to a certain ranking level and stop from the skill level. I do know he's a big welterweight, one of those bigger welterweights, it seems, because Kevin Holland was pretty tall and he seemed about almost his height, and Page was a little bit, I think, beefier, muscles. He reminds me of, put it this way, Stephen Wonderboy. He goes in and out and has maybe a repertoire of striking with his hands, but mostly mixes it up for his feet. I feel like Kevin Holland has that bounce back and forth style, but he can like stab and javelin you with his favorite punch, that back and forth, and then dash in with a straight. And that was tearing Kevin Holland up all night. I think that was the number one punch that was frustrating him. I think he'll go far with, and I think people can study for it and figure it out in their head. But I think Page may be, and he may be able to get caught, but I think he's one of those styles to where you're in there and it's more piercing and fast than you think. I think he might. I want him to succeed. I think he might be up there on a high level, but some of these dudes, ain't playing. I think, like we saw with what's his name, threw a low kick, kicked his legs from under him, and caught him with an uppercut, trying to come back up. I mean, it's that easy to get caught. So I definitely enjoyed getting paid, especially his walkout. And that's the kind of dancing you should do, Michelle Pierre.
Did you see that walkout at Maya? He came out with the Undertaker gear.
Oh yeah, yeah, I seen
That
that.
was pretty entertaining, huh? I mean,
Wow.
that's kind of why they brought him in there, for the flashiness, and that's like a byproduct of it. Well, we talked about this before with the Pokeball after he caved the man's skull in, so I'm sure we'll see more
Yeah.
antics. I'm sure we'll see more antics like that. But why does UFC like Kobe so much? I got the rankings in front of me. He moved up and he didn't even fight. He moved up the rankings and didn't even fight.
Yeah, it's because they had to move Burns back. Because I think Burns was sitting at the number 3 spot or 4 spot going into that fight, so he fell back.
And I was surprised Saint Denis, he went up after losing. that doesn't make sense. But we'll get into that in a second. But I feel like as far as MVP's next match, I feel like this is a layup, right? Him and Neil Magny.
I don't know, man, because in my mind, I don't know why, but I've always thought of like Kevin Holland and Neil Magny being kind of similar fighters. I don't know.
That's why it's a layup. They don't want to throw him into the Lions. And I get to your point. Once he gets the higher level competition, he might get exposed. But I don't think anybody could do anything with him on the feet, and he won't have trouble with that until he gets like in the top 4. I mean, maybe Burns. If sometimes Burns falls in love with stand up too. But I'm looking at people in front of him, like, what people really give him problems outside of the top 4.
But I know it doesn't mean much, but like Mike Perry beat him in bare knuckle. That's strictly stand up. That's strictly stand up, though. That's, MVP's bread and butter, his stand up. So I don't know.
And you can't kick. You can't kick. That's a big factor in it, using your kicking range.
Right. I think he would do fine until he gets up to about the top 7.
So you already said Burns. So you're saying Gary would give him fits?
I think it would be a good fight. I think that Holland gave him a lot of respect. Holland was getting frustrated with MVP, made fun of him acting like he was running, but I think Holland was also respecting his striking as well. I don't think Ian Gary's going to respect it, and I think Ian Gary's going to put the pressure on more than Holland did.
I'm not saying that MVP is going to be a champion, but I think Holland was like a big test in my eyes, because Holland flirted with like being on the brink. I think they threw him in that last minute fight against not Shavkat, Chimaev, yeah, with Chimaev, and he didn't get finished. I guess that's saying something.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. I think Holland, I think we're ready to give him the gatekeeper status.
Oh, I think he's been there. But I don't know. Somebody asked MVP about the Wonder Boy fight, and he's saying that he think it might be a boring fight because just that both styles would like cancel each other out, and nobody would want to strike.
Yep, they're both counter strikers. I mean, that's why a lot of the Anderson Silva or Machida fights were kind of boring. Is they sit back and wait on people to strike so they can throw theirs. And Wonder Boy would be exactly the same. Like they would both be hanging on the outside, just waiting to kind of explode and strike and waiting on the other one. So it would be. I don't know. I don't know if it would be boring. I'm sure there would be a lot of bursts in that fight.
And I actually want to go back and correct myself, because I said Kevin Holland hung in there with Chimaev. Chimaev finished him in the first round. For some reason, I don't remember that fight. Finished him pretty quickly. For some reason, I thought he hung in there, but nope. So
then after that, he got finished as well by Stephen Thompson.
That too. I mean, yeah, that's gatekeeper definition of gatekeeper. Like when he faced that higher level competition, he couldn't get it done. I remember when he during the pandemic, he caught everybody's eyes when he like went on that crazy 5-fight winning streak and like fought like 5 times in a year, and then he's been kind of back and forth with the losses ever since then. So yeah, I mean, they got options with MVP. I feel like Vicente Luque is a guy that's right there that they don't. I don't see him having like a clear direction right now. I don't know if they want to have MVP with Luque though. I feel like MVP that might be one that give him fits.
Yeah, and I mean MVP's a big guy. He's 6'3". I wonder if he could bulk up, put on some muscle and maybe move up. I don't know if he's ever fought at middleweight, but he just kind of has the frame that reminds me of a middleweight fighter. He's done catch weights at 175.
I mean, they have a 175 division that exists, just not in the UFC, so he'd be perfect for that, the super welterweight division. But they don't have that in the UFC. But yeah, he might be a little bit too small for middleweight just because he's so lanky.
About 10 years ago, he fought at middleweight once in his early days. I think the UFC would benefit from a 175.
I like it in concept, but I just don't want things to get watered down. Having a 175 division.
Yeah, if they do a 175, they got to get rid of 170. I don't want that close to 5-pound difference.
And then I guess. And then if they got, that's an odd number to have is 170. If they got rid of that and put 175 and 165, then I guess that wouldn't be too bad because people have been clamoring for that. Just keep it with the odd number weight divisions because that's like the only one with a even number is 170. So I don't know, but I'm sure they'll make a fun matchup for MVP in the future. But let's talk about this co-main event. This happened in the lightweight division. We had Dustin Poirier defeating Benoit Saint-Denis, a fighter that none of us picked to win. Dustin Poirier, I don't want to say turn back the hands of time because he's never really fallen off, but we kind of counted him out on this one, but he won by KO, and round one, Saint-Denis went for that takedown, but Dustin went for that guillotine, and you even heard in the corner, they said, don't go for the guillotine, and he kept going for it, but we might talk about that a little bit later. He couldn't secure it, though. They got back on the feet, and Saint-Denis was in Dustin's face, landing those heavy shots, and was working that ground game towards the first one, and he was looking good. And then round two, Dustin hit him with that good uppercut and went for a guillotine again and didn't get it. Saint-Denis did a little groundwork, but then when they got back up to the feet, Dustin stunned him with that left uppercut, and then a little bit later, he shut the lights off with that right hook. And like I said, none of us picked Poirier to win, but he got the job done. What do you think about this one, Admire?
Yeah, we all picked against Poirier. I don't know why. I've always had in my mind that like he's lost a bunch of fights, but he really hasn't. I mean, he's only lost to like really top people, except for maybe the Michael Johnson. I think Michael Johnson's maybe cracked the top 5 once, but I don't know. Something about the McGregor loss early, 10 years ago. For some reason, I always thought that Dustin Poirier just wasn't as good as he actually is. He's a great fighter. Saint-Denis is a great fighter. I mean, I had him winning up to that point. I guess I wondered what his chin could take, and that showed it. I mean, it was, great punches landed by Poirier. During the fight, I noticed the commentary, like Joe Rogan kept saying, Poirier's tired, but it didn't really look like it to me. Like, he almost seems like one of those guys that once he kind of figures out that he's losing, he kind of picks up the pace later rounds. Like, he kind of starts out hot, kind of slows it down a little bit, and then picks it back up towards the end.
So I want to go back to you saying about Saint-Denis, how he looked good that first round, but they're saying that he may have had staph. You think that may have come into play?
I mean, I'm not a fighter. I don't know how much that really changes things. I don't think so. For him to come out and he was pretty dominant the first round, in my opinion. I mean, he was doing great. So if he was showing that greatness, I don't think Staff could do it unless it really slowed him down in the second round.
Yeah, who knows? And I mean, he came out with I think something on IG explain himself. I'd have to pull it back up, but basically, I don't think he said it. I don't think he was 100% healthy or something like that. But I don't know. What were your thoughts on this fight, Steve?
Yeah, he surprised me. Of course, his stand up prevailed. I didn't think thought he'd be outdone stand up. And you said guillotine. I was like, man, I recollect so many fights that he would pull guard and try to do a guillotine and it wouldn't work. Well, I think he did with Khabib. He's done it with Chandler. He's done it with a whole bunch of people, man. And it seems like his guillotines never work.
And I think John Annie even said that he's never won a fight by guillotine.
Yeah, they did say that.
Yeah, and they always pop out. And you know what? He gets them in there deep, though, some of them. But he can't get him to tap for some reason. I don't know.
He might need to hit the bicep curls then.
Yeah, maybe so. But yeah, definitely surprised for Poirier that keeps him in that limelight of the talk.
Yeah, I mean, you think it was too fast, too soon for Saint Denis? Admire?
Yeah, I think it was a quick jump up, even though I picked him to win. I mean, this kind of shows you where he's at. It was because he's had a lot of fights, he's had a lot of wins, but he was still kind of relatively unknown. So this was like the fight that was, if he won, it was gonna like burst him on the scene and really bring him into the light. I think that it's kind of just a little hurdle. It's a winning or a learning experience for him. Put him back there against somebody who also lost this weekend. Put him against RDA. Match him up against Jalen Turner, somebody around that 10 to 15 spot. Bobby Green, somebody like that. Just see if his run was real, and lost to Dustin Poirier, former champ, probably going to fight for the belt again, or does he have it or does he not? Is it all sizzle or what?
Yeah, so you want him fighting backwards against Bobby Green? I think Bobby Green's he's fighting next month on 300, but I don't know. Bobby Green's 14. Why not? I don't know. Has he faced Dan? I don't think he's faced like a Dan Hooker. I feel like that would be like a good heat check type of fight, right?
Yeah, that would. Or even if you wanted to fight someone ahead of him, Dariush, kind of see what St. Denis ground games like against somebody like Dariush. St. Denis probably gonna beat him on the feet, but
that would be a good one. What do you think, Steve?
Those two options, I would say, is a good option, especially Dariush, because I don't think we're going to see him anytime soon close to the title contention.
No.
I definitely so. But like I said, he did have Poole until this fight. So for real, he can stay around there and somebody challenging behind him can get an opportunity, or he's going to have to wait for somebody who'll give him a fight that's above him.
Yeah. Somewhere in the top 10 to 6, I think would be good since he's ranked number 11, just to see where he's at. Anybody except Michael Chandler. No, I don't think, because we're still thinking that he's going to get that Conor fight. You can't screw that man out of getting that big payday.
Yeah, but the St. Denis thing, the only reason I was saying if he would fight somebody from 10 to 15, he's never beat anybody in there. So he did kind of jump the line quite a bit to get in where he's at. I mean, he's still at 11 and he's never beat anybody that's in the top 15. So for me, in my head, it kind of makes sense for him to fight somebody lower and see was it the real deal giving him a spot that high?
I get it, but after being on a co-main event like that, I'm thinking so more of from a market standpoint that you don't have him fight like a Drew Dober or Bobby Green. I mean, you could main event a fight night card with that, but I feel like you want to keep him on like the main card at this point, right?
Yeah. I like put him and Dariush on like a co-main or something.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. But let's talk about Poirier, though. I mean, I feel like he's kind of stuck in no man's land right now. Neither him or Gaethje has faced Islam Makhachev, the champion right now. Gaethje's fighting this pointless fight against Max Holloway next month. So I don't know. What do you do if Gaethje loses? I guess maybe try to get Poirier in there with Makhachev.
Yeah, you could do that. The only other option is, somebody he's already fought, Oliveira. You don't want to see that fight?
No. I mean, I don't need to see that again. For Poirier's sake, I just want to see something that we hadn't seen before, because Oliveira probably would be. I don't want to say probably would beat him, but it's a high chance that Oliveira would beat Poirier. And like I said, I want to see him do fights that we haven't seen before, because he's 35, but he's an older 35. He's been in the UFC forever, so I don't think we see a whole lot of Poirier before it's all said and done.
Poirier used to fight featherweight. I wonder if he'd ever go back down.
Nah, he's too big for that. He could fight at welterweight right now if he wanted to. He'd be perfect for a 165 division, but I think he could do welterweight.
Dude, I'd like to see Poirier skip the line and fight Leon Edwards. I think that'd be a fun fight.
That'd be a fun fight until it's not. I think Edwards would have a good chance of finishing him. Like I said, I've slept on Edwards myself, but he's good, man. But I don't know, Steve. I was saying Poirier is kind of like stuck between a rock and a hard place, because he already lost to Oliveira. He hasn't faced Makhachev yet, but you have Justin Gaethje ahead of him. I don't see Gaethje losing at 300. So should Poirier just wait it out?
I think so. I think I saw even something talks of him fighting Makhachev, Islam. So he better hope that's an option, because like you said, he's a rock stuck in a hard place, and hopefully some dust picks up with that fight.
Yeah, I don't see him jumping Gaethje though, because Gaethje just finished them. So unless Gaethje loses, that's his best bet. If Gaethje, but then how could you punish Gaethje for fighting somebody that's not in the division too? I mean, you can, because he's a smaller guy, but as far as the pecking order with the rankings, like, I don't know, has that happened where somebody's dropped fighting somebody out of their division? I don't know.
That's kind of a weird spot for that whole division. I think the Gaethje thing kind of just messes it all up.
Yeah, I don't know why they're doing that fight, but whatever. UFC does what they want to do, but what about the Oliveira factor? Because I think, has UFC soured on him, because he was supposed to fight Makhachev and then he got hurt. So are they just saying to hell with that?
Oliveira's fighting on 300.
I know, that's what I'm saying. He was supposed to fight Makhachev, but then it got canceled and they didn't even put him back in the spot. So I guess they're saying the hell with his top, because he's still ranked number 1 and he's fighting a whole different person at 300.
Yeah, he's fighting the number 4, that Sarukian. Man, that whole division's kind of held up. I mean, you have to think Oliveira is fighting for it's a contenders match. So
yeah. Oh, if he loses that, man, I don't think he gets a title shot anytime soon.
No, I think everything has to wait on and see what Gaethje does.
I think it has to weigh more so on Oliveira than Gaethje, because Gaethje feel like this is for this stupid BMF belt. Win, lose, or draw, he might drop one spot, I guess, but that would be what Poirier want for him to drop one spot, and then he can slide on right in there. So UFC 300 does have some implications as far as the lightweight division, so we'll have to see how that plays out. But let's talk about this main event, fellas. We had Admire's favorite fighter, Sugar Sean O'Malley, defeating Marlon Vera for the bantamweight championship by unanimous decision. So O'Malley, he was working those leg kicks early on in the first round, and then halfway through it, they started trading a little bit. I thought O'Malley was the busier fighter in the first round, but going on to round two, O'Malley did a good job of mixing it up, but going up top and then going to the volley, and he was pretty much just beating Vera to the punch. He looked faster. He was piecing Vera up. With about a minute and a half left in that second round, O'Malley hit him with that huge knee and stunned him with the right hand. And then round three was more of the same. Just O'Malley pretty much doing what he wanted on the feet, not like throwing like fight-ending punches, but just like basically just using them for like target practice for the most part. Like other than a couple good shots from Vera, O'Malley dominated that round too. And Vera, he showed a little heart in that fourth round. He came out swinging, and O'Malley weathered it and continued to pick him apart from the outside for the majority of the round. Although Cheeto did have that was probably his best round. He had his moments in the fourth round, but I still gave that one to O'Malley. And then at the beginning of that fifth round, O'Malley hurt Vera with that big right hand, but like I was like, why aren't he following up? He just like pretty much sat there and let Vera kind of recover from that. And he continued to walk him down though. Landed that big knee that was and then that head kick that was partially blocked. And then he pretty much just coasted to the end of that round until Vera hit him with that body shot. And did y'all see he was on the ground after that fight, but even with that body shot, O'Malley was able to tough it out and get that unanimous decision. But what were your thoughts, Admire?
Yeah, man. Like I've always been the biggest critic of O'Malley, but he's the real deal. His accuracy, man, it's, you know, a lot of people back in the day used to talk about Conor McGregor's, you know, striking accuracy, and Sean O'Malley shows a lot of that. He just picks his shots so well. Definitely the higher output fighter in this. And through the first few rounds, that's what it was. He was stringing together a lot of good combinations. And then I think it was that fifth round where he landed the big shot where he should have swarmed him. He didn't. It was like the one time that he didn't follow up his shots. So I don't know what happened, why he didn't do that. But everything that Cheeto Vera did, I mean, O'Malley beat him to the punch on it. And Cheeto just seemed like he was looking for the one big shot more than, you know, the combinations and everything. And it, you know, it didn't surprise me, but it probably surprised Vera that it just didn't go the same way as their first fight. O'Malley has somebody waiting in the wings to fight him that I think can beat him. But for right now, man, Sean O'Malley, he's earned his place on, you know, towards the top of that pound for pound fighter list.
You said O'Malley has somebody waiting in the wings?
Yeah, man.
Well, hold up. Before we get to that, let's see what Steve has to say about this fight, because I think we might be on the same page for that. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, it was good for O'Malley. Vera, very reserved, waiting too much for me, which made it a disappointing fight to where I thought Vera was going to bring it. There was times to where you see he got synchronized for a minute and can throw a punch quick enough to catch him, but it's just he's wasn't putting enough output. Versus O'Malley was just tagging him. I think it was a clear decision, and like I said, and maybe still skill set, but I guess Sean O'Malley has more pull to say it was the leg kick that maybe because he won. You know, I think this was a dominant fight, and we pretty much haven't even seen Vera upgrade his repertoires since the first O'Malley fight. You know, he's really not saying he has an upgrade, but his style's pretty much the same. And O'Malley just seems like he's getting better. And obviously, we've seen his striking accuracy on point.
Definitely. I mean, you can't deny that he does have skills because he's shown that he's skillful, man. I mean, he made it look easy for the most part. But circling back around to what Admire said early in the show, O'Malley's talking about Ilya Topuria, but if he skips out on facing Merab, then I think everybody, including me, will have a serious problem with that. I don't know if that's who you were talking about a couple of minutes earlier, who could beat him, but it's got to be Merab. He can't, like, enough with these super fights before you actually establish yourself as the dominant champion. It's got to be Merab next.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's got to be Merab next because we all are thinking the same thing. We all think that Merab is the one that's going to put a stop to O'Malley's hype train. You know, Merab just beat Henry Cejudo. And I don't think that O'Malley's really, here I am talking shit on him again. He hasn't really been tested. I mean, yeah, he's beat Vera, he's beat Sterling, he's beat Jan, but there's still a lot of guys in that division that could go in there against him. This weight jumping thing, just so you can say that you're a 2-division champ or whatever, it needs to stop. It used to be you got to do that when you cleaned out your division. Clean out the division first.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a travesty if Merab got passed over. But I think either matchup is a bad matchup for him anyway. I think both of the guys beat him, but I don't know. What are your thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, I don't like it, especially what is his second defense?
First defense,
first defense,
he hadn't defended yet.
It gets real corny. It's like, and I guess to the perspective of the person, you can't deny your charisma you have or you think you have, but you got to be realistic. Some of these people are assuming position of these super fights like they're a Connor or something. And O'Malley's not like that. He doesn't bring the sting like Connor to even ask for a fight like that. And I think it's watering down even super fights when you keep on, unless we're going to make this part of the UFC culture, you know, see if it picks up wind to get a super fight. To me, I think we talked about it. I don't think O'Malley has stardom like that to be even asking super fights, especially when you're one fight being champion. So I say stick with definitely. If you listen to his post fight too, you can tell he did the call out to Pero, but he's like, never mind. And then he said he was going to call out. And then he said, fuck it. If you guys want me to fight Merab too, like he didn't want to say it. So that's a draggy fight he really doesn't want. Because based off his post fight, how he sounded.
Yeah, you can't duck them forever. I mean, I feel like UFC would try to protect them, but yeah, you got to be Merab. But as far as star power goes, Steve touched on it a little bit earlier. This was the highest gate ever outside of a McGregor fight. But do y'all think this is just because it was a stacked card, or you think that O'Malley actually brought the crowd out? Admire.
No, this was a stacked card, man. You had big names on there. You know, Jan, Gilbert Burns, MVP, Dustin Poirier. It wasn't because it was Sean O'Malley for sure. So I'm not going to believe that. I don't. He doesn't bring what McGregor has. You know, that's always going to be the comparison. Everybody's always going to be compared to McGregor, and he just doesn't have what it is. And you know, for the record, the Topuria call out, Topuria would shit whip O'Malley.
I think so too. but never, fights aren't fought on paper, so you never know. He may make it competitive, but I think Topuria is a problem. What he did to Alexander Volkanovski, and I think Alexander Volkanovski would probably handle O'Malley pretty easily, but you never know, man. You never know. So, but I'm with you. Just on first thought, I think Topuria would handle him, but I, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you agree with Admire, Steve? You think it was just because it was a deep card, or you think O'Malley was able to get that gate?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you got to give MVP a piece of that. Stardom that brought that card alone. That's the first name that came to my head. Let alone those other fighters on the card. Hopefully, he's not that naive to claim that all came from him.
Yeah, I mean, the card was so stacked. You had Curtis Blades, on the prelims, number 5 heavyweight.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Sean O'Malley is like the poster child for this new era of like UFC popularity, and I don't think it's gotten to the like a level like you said. I think Conor is the last of a dying breed. He did it just off a name. You see Conor fight, you see him knock out, and he could talk. But O'Malley is from like the Twitch era, and I don't know if that's translate yet to like people actually paying for the fight. Like you got fans watching on Twitch, they're probably watching it for free though, like on a legal stream. So I feel like UFC's had a problem with the kind of factor. They've been moving out these fights like factory, like on assembly lines, and they hadn't had that star. And I think they're experimenting with O'Malley. I just don't think it's hit like that on a mainstream level. Like he's got like a huge following on like social media and like the Twitch era. Like I'm sure your kid's probably familiar with him, man, Meyer. But I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, after his first couple wins, I mean, he went on a whole like tour of like I think he did Theo Von's show. He was on like Nelk Boys. He was hanging out with 6ix9ine. Like he was blowing up social media wise, but like I still don't think he's really blown up MMA wise.
And I feel like in boxing, his same age group, they've been able to translate it for buys because the Garcia and the Tank Davis, I think that did like over 1 million pay-per-view buys. So I don't know why it's not hitting with O'Malley yet. Maybe you got to give him some time. Because, like I said, Tank and Garcia comes from that like social media type era, like post Floyd or whatnot. So I don't know. Like you said, he's with 6ix9ine. I didn't even know that. I bet that was ridiculous. I guess they got the same hair.
Yeah, and O'Malley has a 6ix9ine tattoo on his shoulder from when they hung out.
Oh my goodness. Talk about D-riding. That's me with any 6ix9ine tattoo, especially with him being a snitch. But that's a topic for a different show. But going into this fight, when we did our predictions, Admire went 3-2 for the night. Steve, you didn't do so hot. You went 2-3. You picked Vera. I'm surprised you picked Vera to win that fight, actually.
Yeah. Shit.
And I went 4-1, so I'm catching up to Admire. That puts us on the year. Steve is 7-8. I am 9-6, and Admire is 10-5. So I'm sneaking up on Admire. Let's see if I can keep the momentum going. But before we get out of here, we usually do news stories for the previous show, but couldn't let these stories pass by in between shows. Did y'all see the news on Mark Coleman?
I had a pop-up earlier, something about he was in the hospital for smoking inhalation or something.
Yeah, I think it's his parents' house. His parents' house caught on fire, and he went in there and saved both of them, but his dog didn't make it. I don't know if it was his house or his parents' house, but he saved both his parents from a fire. So, yeah, prayers out to Mark Coleman. Hopefully he makes a speedy recovery. But yeah, man, it sucks that his dog went. But man, you imagine your adrenaline running when you have to go in there and save your parents. Like, geez.
Yeah, that's rough, man.
Yeah, so we wish him a speedy recovery. But one more story before we get out of here. We talked about this on the boxing show. So if you want to get more detailed analysis of the actual fight between Joshua and Ngannou, go check that out. And we also talked about the boxing implications from it. But I kind of teased on that show that we'll be talking about the MMA implications from this. So Francis Ngannou got knocked the fuck out on Friday. And I didn't see that coming. Did you go back and watch the clip, Admire?
Yeah. Solid shot. Ngannou even said himself, he's like, I didn't even feel it. I was just out cold.
Yeah. So on the boxing show we did that we dropped yesterday, we talked about his options in boxing, but I think this is the outcome where we talked about would he not come back to MMA? I think it's a foregone conclusion. He's got to do MMA next, right?
Yeah, I mean, he did good against Tyson Fury, but I don't think that Fury really took that fight serious. You know, we were all like, man, Ngannou hung with the champ. But this kind of shows what happens when somebody really goes hard boxing at him. He needs to stay in MMA for a while. Maybe go back to boxing again some other day if he wants to. But yeah, it wasn't a good look for his boxing career. The good news is I think he bagged like $20 million for that fight.
Yeah, I mean, he could retire if he wanted to. But so if he does do MMA next, I guess he has to fight Renan Ferreira, right? You think so? You think that'll be who he fought in MMA, Steve?
I excuse me, I should say, because I don't want to see him box anymore. After that devastating loss, he should get back to MMA, especially because you kind of lost a little of his badges, which is, unstoppable, haven't been knocked out.
His mystique.
Yeah, his mystique. And which in that I mean, it was entertainable and you can get away with it until we saw it. But we saw it now. Get back to your bread and butter, what even got you to perceive you even being a boxer, which was disproved, which is go back to MMA.
So I guess it's Renan Ferreira or bust, I guess, for him in PFL. Like, who else you put him against?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, Ngannou's your top star. That's the only fight you can make. I just hope that his chin doesn't have irreversible damage. You know what I mean? It was a hard shot, and it kind of made him a mortal man. Like, he's beatable if you can land that punch.
So, once you crack that glass open, you get knocked out. It's kind of like maybe avalanche after that. So, what if he comes back to MMA and Renan Ferreira knocks him out again? Is that pretty much it for him?
I mean, where do you go? I mean, they invested so much money into him that it's like you hope he wins, because I mean his stock's just going to continue to fall. If I was him, if I take a loss, I retire. If I win, do a couple more. But he's got money, like crazy money now.
I think the biggest travesty in mixed martial arts is if we don't see him versus John Jones. It'd have to be him going back to the UFC because, like you said, John Jones is locked up in that 7-8 fight contract. So I don't know what his PFL deal looks like. Does anybody know? I think you may have looked it up back before, Admire, but I don't know. If you had to flip a coin, Steve, you think we just never see that fight between Jones and Ngannou?
I don't think so. That's the same way I feel about people, Anthony Johnson and John Jones. We just never saw it. You know, they parted ways. I feel like this is what's happening now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that might have been kept under the wraps. That his contract deal with the details of it. I mean,
yeah, I don't. It's not saying he signed a multi-fight deal. I mean, he's already had multiple fights, so we don't know how much that means. But I have to imagine as much money as they gave him, it's like a minimum of 5.
Yeah, he's had multiple fights, but none in the PFL. So whatever that means. I don't know. But I mean, if you're him, he's what, 38? So I don't know. I feel like he's at a crossroads right now. And you got the Wilder fight that's still out there, but I don't know if he does that. But I think you got to go back to MMA just to build up that I'm not some chump. Like, I still do this, and I'll still knock you the fuck out. So,
yeah, I mean, well, you know, I still think it was a good deal to go to PFL, but now that he's taken this loss in boxing, that puts so much question into what happens if he comes back to MMA and loses. Like, all his stock's depleted. You left the UFC, you went to a lower, you know, I'll say it in quotes, a lower quality company as far as the fighters, and then you lose your first MMA fight over there. So we wouldn't even be talking about this if he wouldn't have done any boxing. We would have still been high on him. So I think even though he lost in boxing, it drops his stock in MMA. And one loss in MMA, it's going to really hurt his stock.
yeah. I mean, he's a good guy too, so I'd hate to see him fall from grace, and he's exciting to watch. But yeah, that was tough though. That was tough to see him get knocked out like that, because it was cartoonish how his leg went, but buckled back like that. But
yeah, and I mean, you gotta think about how this would have played out if he would have stayed in the UFC. Though, I don't think that the John Jones fight would have happened yet, because you had the Jones versus Cyril Gane.
I think it would have happened. That fight would have happened, except that fight would have happened because the Cyril Gane and John Jones fight happened because Ngannou left.
You think it would have happened? I was going to say that, it pretty much would have came down to probably Ngannou and Aspinall, and Ngannou would have been, the interim champ right now.
Nah, I think we would have had him, because Ngannou was the champ when he left. That was the fight that was supposed to. The only reason why they threw Cyril Gane in there is because Ngannou left. So we would have already saw the fight by now. And I don't know where to go with the division after that. I guess just keep throwing whoever won that fight, because I don't know. I feel like Stipe showed the blueprint on how to beat Francis Ngannou, and I think Stipe just got old and got knocked out when they fought the second time. But remember how he just dominated him in the wrestling department in the first fight? I think John Jones has the wrestling acumen to do that as well. So
yeah. This is probably just going to be one of those fights that we never get to see, like the old Anderson Silva GSP. It's just it's not going to happen, or it's going to be Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao. It's going to happen 10 years too late.
Yeah, what a shame. But yeah, we'll keep our eye out on what Francis Ngannou does in the future. But that brings us to the end of the show, and we are on our way to 300. That's coming up soon, and there's a few fight night cards in between. Then I may or may not do a quickie episode depending on how the time looks. But if not, then I guess the next time we'll see y'all is for previewing UFC 300, which is a pretty stacked card, even though the main event is kind of underwhelming. But be on the lookout for us on the social media platforms. X, formerly known as Twitter. Subscribe to the YouTube page. Subscribe to us on audio platforms, Apple, Spotify, iHeart. But that'll do it for us here at Haymaker Combat Sports. Until next time, be safe out there. Later.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Hear it here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet Science MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars, cause it's live.